Are you going to do this thing yet?
Hold on. I
We
wanted to
haven't
say
even
we're just going to do running back today. Just the running back.
Top in on these RBs, man.
We've already talked about, like...
This your forecast. Pow!
Bang. Training camp battle edition.
Dude, we were playing softball last week,
Yeah.
and a lightning strike, like, it struck a light that was, like, probably 100 yards away.
Right as you hit a home run?
No, that would have been dope.
Why do you guys
cracks as soon as you hit the ball?
Oh, you got a metal bat. You guys are
You
playing
know, they're
with metal
composite.
bat.
They're composite. Stupid.
Why is that stupid?
They haven't made metal bats since the 90s, bro.
They're made out of aluminum.
No, they're composite now. They started doing that
Sounds
when
like
I was
metal.
when I was in like middle school.
Does sound-
I still want to know why you're playing a softball match in the middle of the.
Why would you call it a softball match?
We
This is
had,
what I
we had-
just don't understand it, bro.
we had a guy that in wrestling when we were in high school. He called all of our matches battles.
I like that though.
Yeah, man, I got to go to battle tonight.
Yeah,
Speaking of battles, training camp battles. That's what we're talking about.
Whoa,
Yes, sir.
I like that one.
Dude,
That was
That was good. That was
that was a
smooth.
Yeah,
hot
that was clean.
transition, bro. That was nice.
First one, my boy Najee Harris versus Omarion over there in Los Angeles. That's a tough. This is a bad one for me
I don't
because
want to
these
say
guys
this
are
for every.
both.
I don't want to say it for every single one, but I feel like it's not really gonna. They're not battling for the starter
Yeah.
role.
When it comes to
You
the
don't
running
think?
backs,
I feel like they're just going 50-50,
Yeah,
60-40.
I guess that's
like,
true. At the end of the day, like, somebody has to get the, maybe not like the lion's share,
The
but
depth
like
chart.
it's not going to be a 50-50 and somebody's going to be on the field first,
yeah.
right? And that does mean something, per se. But, you know, we look at Detroit, they're, most of the time, you know, I would say Jahmyr Gibbs is their number one running back.
Yeah.
But David Montgomery normally starts on the field. Like, he
Yeah.
normally gets the first drive, and that's just how Detroit runs their team.
I
But-
feel like there's times where he even gets more carries.
yeah, for sure, there definitely is. I don't know if I would say that I think that's how LA's is going to work out. Like, history shows, you know, that the rookie running back takes over time, you know,
Yeah.
and on the back half of the year, Amari Hampton should be able to take that job. But it's like you said, in their specific instance, they're going to run the ball so much.
Yeah.
I don't care how good Amari Hampton is. Najee Harris is probably going to get 10 touches a game.
Yeah.
Like, he's just going to get his share of work where Hampton gets a breather.
Yeah.
Especially if Hampton is so good that they're like, yeah, we got to get him the ball. He's going to need the breathers. Like, they're not going to try to kill this guy, you know, as a rookie and, you know, pound him into the dirt in his first year. I'm sure it's going to take a little bit of time, and they'll probably trust Najee more on the passing downs, even though he's not necessarily the most gifted pass catcher.
Yeah,
but
but
pass
he's a
blocker,
Yeah.
probably what you're looking for. I love Hampton's abilities, but I think Najee's going to have a role, like a real role.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think he's going away. I do think this is more about Omarion, whether he's going to be what everybody thinks he's going to be.
Yeah.
Because Najee is who he is, and he's not just a guy, but he's like just
a little
bit better of a guy, kind of.
Yeah.
But he's so reliable. You know, I'm sure you guys heard he hasn't missed a game ever.
Yeah.
We may have mentioned that on here. I don't know, and he's just a coach's. He's a guy that coach loves to put in the football game.
That's Harbaugh's dream running back is
Yeah.
honestly Najee Harris.
Yeah.
Like, just some guy he can say, listen, I don't care what the yardage situation is, just go pound the ball as hard as you can up the middle.
Yeah.
And he can trust him to get 3 yards. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think we know how, like, we do that a lot with coaches. We know how coaches like to do, how they game plan and everything. I think it's just going to turn into J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards again. It's just
Right.
pick a name, which one is the one, you know. I think the whole time I'm watching Gus Edwards, I'm like, why is this bum in? I'm going to be saying the same thing about Najee this year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you own Hampton, you're going to be frustrated this
Yeah,
year.
well, I don't even own him, but Najee's
Why
a
do you
bum.
hate Najee so much?
He's bad. He's not good. Is Jim Harbaugh not getting like sued or something, or like he's about to go to like jail or some shit?
For what, the stuff with Michigan?
Yeah.
Nah, dude, he's good.
I thought something
He's
else
good.
just came up. No,
I didn't see anything new.
he's an
but
enabler.
he's definitely an enabler.
Oh.
It's not like he didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
he
all right. I
100%
well, I
knew
didn't
about
see it, so like.
It's like I didn't do it myself, but, you know, I told them to do it.
I think he's just getting banned from coaching in NCAA.
Yeah. Which,
Something like
at
that.
this point, he probably doesn't care about. He's probably one of the safest coaches in the league, in my opinion, just based on the deal he signed, and it's only his second year. I think they could win 3 games this year, and he doesn't get canned.
Yeah.
Like, it's it's that safe of a situation for him. And that gives me confidence about Omarion going forward, just because Najee's on that 1-year deal. It'll probably be kind of similar to Dobbins, like you mentioned, where it's, we'll ride him out for a year, pound him into the dirt. And that's what I'm most worried about is he's on a 1-year deal, and they'll say, our hands are washed clean. We don't care if you have 400 touches this year. If you're productive for us, we're not paying you anyways.
Yeah.
And we're not, handcuffed to you.
What do you think he goes back to the Steelers after this year?
God,
Probably not, right?
I'd hope
they just got hopefully better Najee, right? Like that's what I think Pittsburgh is hoping for. They got Najee with a little bit more juice, but.
So who do you like in that one? Jalen Warren or Caleb Johnson? I already know what you're gonna say.
Give me the big boy.
Kenneth
Gainwell. I got the rookie fever. Give me the big boy.
Give me Gainwell, baby.
Gainwell.
Yes, sir.
I think this is going to be a theme for most of these because a lot of the camp battles have like a guy who I think people have the expectation or the hope where there's like the hopium around them, like that's the guy, he's got all the juice. And I think, especially for Dynasty, the other guy, they're all going to be so cheap to buy. Like, I would much rather go buy Najee Harris right now than Omarion Hampton.
Yeah.
And I feel like the range of outcomes is pretty similar.
At least for this year.
Yeah, for this year, Like, so if you just need a depth piece, I think picking on the weaker part of these, if you go get 2 of these guys, you have a shot one of these guys works out and you have a top 24 running back this year.
Dude, if you're making me pick, I'm absolutely going Jalen Warren. He's just all around better. He's experienced to where he can pass. He's a fucking good blocker, dude. He's gonna be in the third down back role, and he's so much fun to watch, man. He's so nice.
I was just watching some of the film cut-ups that I made of him, and he so often he gets past the first guy.
Yeah.
Like he very rarely gets tackled by that first tackler. And he can run through the arm tacklers. I know he's a little guy, but he's stout, even though he's short. He reminds me of Austin Eckler. He's got the same kind of vibe, undrafted guy, little guys. But is there a small chance that maybe he is Austin Eckler? Because it took him a few years before he was like the guy for the Chargers.
I don't know. For me, it comes down to what I think about Mike Tomlin and the way he's going to be able to control that locker room, because Aaron Rodgers has this, not like a stigma, it's just kind of the way Aaron Rodgers is. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't want you on the field, you haven't been on the field in the past. That's, you drop a pass, nah, dude, you're playing 30% of snaps the rest of the season. You blow a blocking assignment and Rodgers gets blown up in the backfield, nah, dude, you're not playing third downs anymore. And that does worry me about Caleb Johnson. If he comes in week 1 or week 2 and he drops a couple dump offs, or he runs the wrong route, or he misses a blocking assignment, he might not touch the field on pass plays the rest of the season. But you're the real Steelers fan, so I really want your opinion on this. Is Mike Tomlin putting his foot down and he's doing what he wants? Like him and Arthur Smith are going to put who they want on the field?
Aaron Rodgers,
or does Aaron Rodgers get a say in this now?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers throws him off the field and Mike Tomlin says, no, get back here. And then he's just like, what do I do?
Yeah, right?
We were talking about this before, and I think we mentioned that how petty Aaron Rodgers is.
Yeah.
And my comment was, nobody is pettier than Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin.
But that's not good, right?
Not
like
petty,
that, they're like the two
awesome.
pettiest guys.
Yeah.
I think when you're the head coach and you're that, you're the leader of men, you got to be petty about stuff, man.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know where I was going with that.
He's trash. I just don't understand. Again, I just don't understand why we all put like Caleb Johnson on this pedestal, thinking he's like a better version of Najee. Like, because he's not. Like, he's literally drafted in the 3rd compared to the 1st. Like, he had like not as good as a college career. We haven't seen him run, obviously, and we won't know until he actually runs in the NFL.
As a prospect, I agree. I think people get a little ahead of their skis talking about him being an upgrade to Najee. But at this point, I think he's a potential upgrade from Najee. From what we've seen the last year and a half, 2 years, it didn't quite seem like Najee had the consistent juice anymore. You got like 1 or 2 flashes this season where Najee would break those longer runs. He'd have 3 or 4 broken tackles on a play, and it was like, oh, that's the guy, jumping over people.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we used to get a lot more of that the first year and a half or so of his career, and then the last year and a half, I feel like we didn't get that quite as much.
Yeah.
But That's a tough one. I think Warren's safer.
I like Warren. I think he's proven. I feel like he's just like Darren Sproles or I don't even know, Ronnie Brown maybe.
Well, these are the guys you're talking about right now that were never really the guy for their teams. Like
Yeah,
Darren
but
Sproles
you know
was always
what?
okay.
But
he's
you know
good
what?
for fantasy,
We
but
still
not-
love Darren Sproles. You know,
Yeah, we do.
all
Gotta respect Darren Sproles.
At the end of the day, we're all picking Darren Sproles over Najee Harris. So,
That's a fact.
And Darren
Not me.
Sproles,
I
Darren
love
Sproles
Najee.
he still got some fantasy points with the Eagles at least.
Yeah, man, he scored all over.
Yeah.
The Saints too.
Are you guys worried about? I don't want to say the word worried, but like, what about Patterson? I think he's still on
Cordero?
the team, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's on the team.
Yeah, he was
Not worried about
No.
Cordero for me.
All right.
Why would we even talk about that?
I don't know.
We all have a limited amount of
He's
time.
in the room,
I can
man.
edit it
We have a
out.
limited amount of time on here, and we're wasting time with Cordero Patterson.
Okay, what about the Patriots is next?
Well, he was on the
your
Patriots.
boys, Travion Henderson and
Ramon
what's the other
Day.
guy?
Ramondre Stevenson.
Ramon
How's your brother say him?
Ramon Day.
Ramon Day Stevenson.
Dude, I'm going with Travion on this one. And the only concern is that it's McDaniels being the. Is it McDaniel?
No,
or
it's
Josh
it's
McDaniels.
oh
one of them's plural and one of them's singular. Mike is McDaniels.
Mike McDaniel.
Yes, it's Josh McDaniel.
Okay, yeah.
I
Anyway, he tends to be a running back by committee kind of guy.
Yeah,
But-
for sure. The problem is when one of the guys has so much more talent than the other,
Right.
it's hard to make it a committee, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think, people have juiced up Trevion Henderson specifically because of his pass blocking many times throughout the draft process. That's kind of been the reports out of New England's training camp from what I've seen is, he looks way ahead of his, time in the NFL.
Hmm.
I think that's one that probably starts off kind of as an even split. But, man, if Ramondre has any of the same issues he's had with fumbles and stuff in the past, that dude's going to be toast in a hurry, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I feel so bad because I loved him. I loved him for the first couple of years.
Yeah, dude, he was awesome as a rookie. He looked great.
Yep.
But yeah, it's that one might be pretty simple for us. We got an Ohio State fan, and we're both Trevion lovers, so
Yeah.
I think that one's. If I have Ramondre, I'm looking to get off of him.
Yeah. You know what? Thinking about it,
I'm looking to get off on Trevion Henderson, not on Ramondre Stevenson.
thinking about it is like I thought about it at first. I'm thinking like, dude, it's just gonna be like 50-50 split. But really, the way that Ramondre was fucking running and just not really producing the way he was,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking I'm getting one over on Travion Henderson. I think I don't know. I feel like it's a safe bet that Travion's going to be getting the majority of them snaps.
It's pretty damning to me that last season we saw multiple times where their head coach said, Ramondre's not getting the start. It's Antonio Gibson this week.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're coming off the field for Antonio Gibson, that means you're not good.
Yeah.
At this point, that means you are not
I'm
good.
not going to put it on the coaching of the Patriots to say
Right.
that they're that good, but it's just if you got a good player, you're going to play him, and if he's just proven that he's not a good player or not that great of a player.
Exactly.
I'm like, normally with the running back committee thing, that's the only thing that would be the concern. But usually you have one back that's a lot better at a particular area. So you're like, I'm going to put him on the field in passing situations, or I'm going to put him on the short yardage.
But it's probably going to be Travion.
But at what situation is Ramondre
I would honestly
better than
Exactly.
Travion?
And I was going to say, I think they
Yeah.
profile as similar style backs. But Trevion does everything better than Ramondre Stevenson already, in my opinion. So it's going to be tough for him, but I'm sure he gets work. There's probably some leagues in best ball where I wouldn't mind taking him.
Yeah.
But if it's a lineup league, and you can get, if somebody's willing to give you a second, you take that and run. I don't know if you can even get that at this point. Honestly, I don't think you can.
I don't think
I couldn't even you can't even get a second for Najee.
I'd probably pay a second for Najee if I'm very confident in my team being a contender. I'd be willing to pay a second for
I'd probably
Najee.
pay.
What about Spudge? Oh, Spudgley, you have
Oh,
you
no,
need
I-
wide receivers.
I
No.
do need wide receivers, real bad.
I got wide receivers.
All right, I'll hit you up. You need some 27 firsts. You need Jeremiah Smith, man. That's your guy.
I need running backs, my guy. Which is probably going to end up being me having to draft him next year. Right.
Hey, Jeremiah Love, man. Need that first pick.
All right, we're going on to the next one. The Giants. We got Cam Scatabo against Tyrone Tracy. How's that going to work out?
I want Scatabo to be the. We both.
Everybody does, right?
Yeah, we want Scatabo. We're rooting for him, but I don't know. I think you're. I'm almost going to see like a 30-30-30 type thing. 33.
Who's the other 30?
Devin Singletary, baby.
You know, I'm glad you brought him up because I didn't even think about him, but
I'm not thinking about him at all.
No, he's probably going to be more of the 20%.
Well, he was already put on the bench for Tyrone Tracy in the first place.
That was my thought process with it was, okay, they benched that, like they paid him, and then not even halfway through the season said, this 5th rounder's better. We're going to roll with you.
The 26-year-old 5th rounder.
Yeah, and then they said, you know what? We need to draft a running back.
Yeah.
So clearly, they weren't happy with the room as a whole, in my opinion. And I think Tracy's a good, not great player. Like, Tracy is going to play, and he was probably the second best offensive weapon for the Giants last year, in my opinion. You know, depends what you think about Wan'Dale Robinson catching, 1-yard passes 8 times a game. But to me, that's not, super conducive to winning football games.
Yeah, 5 for 30, isn't it?
Yeah, it helps, your fantasy points. I'm fine with 8 catches, no matter how many yards you're getting. That's fun. That's great. But it doesn't help them win. So I think Tracy was probably the second best offensive player for them. But the upside of what I think Cam Scatabo can be, especially, even as a pass catcher, I think he's very gifted as a receiver. It's not a lot of. He's not a body catcher. He's a natural fluid runner when he catches the ball, catching it in movement. And for somebody his size, that can be a real problem.
Yeah.
For defenses and just in general for those people, it can be a problem.
Yeah.
But he has enough upside for me.
Everybody likes a little Ray Rice.
Oh yeah.
Well, except for
I also think Scatabo gets the I call it the white guy bump, right? I think specifically at skill positions, for some reason, people just love the white dudes because it's
not normal.
Yeah, I mean it's novelty a little bit.
Like
where it's like, oh, Lad McConkey, this guy's the best white receiver in the league, and people hype them up a little bit, and you can see the trade value, the artificial trade value for those guys is way different. So I think I would rather have Scatabo, or Bo, whatever you want, however it's said, I don't know, just for if they had if he wins the battle and he puts up X numbers. He's worth a lot more than if Tyrone Tracy wins the battle and puts up the exact same numbers.
Yeah.
You can get much more in trades for him. So I'd rather have him than Tracy. But I'm fine with taking the shot on either. If I had Tracy, I would not trade him low right now, being scared of Scatabo. I would
Brandon's not.
I would just hold on to it and say, let's see how it shakes out.
I think the best case for Tyrone Tracy, it seems to me that it's 50-50 split.
Yeah, I agree.
The best case for Scatabo is he just takes over. I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, I just don't see a world where Tyrone Tracy's a better runner than Cam is. But because of that, he profiled as the receiving back coming out of college. Well, he led running backs in drops last year. He had 5-6 fumbles last year. And it's not like he was playing 100% of snaps for an entire season. The ball control was definitely worrisome.
I was going to say, I feel like Cam Scatabo could really shoot himself in the foot if he plays the same way he did in college. Because if he plays reckless, he could be
Kenneth Walker, where it's you never know what game he's going to get hurt because he just runs so violently that you might get 8 healthy games a season, and 3 of those, he probably left for half the game.
Yeah.
That's just.
Well, in the NFL, you fumble and do that stuff, you're not playing.
Exactly.
In college, they'd be like, well, he's
the only guy on the team. We got to feed him the rock.
So you do this. I mean, he could shoot himself in the foot. He says, I'm going to take the contact instead of just running over here to the side.
Yeah.
Then,
He's going to get himself in trouble headbutting Jackson Dart. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
No.
They're headbutting each other.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Cam's a big boy. I don't want to take a headbutt from that guy. Nobody wins with a headbutt. I don't know why guys headbutt.
Maybe if you have the helmet on. I'm thinking that they got the helmet on. They're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And look, played football. It still hurts. You jump up and you smack heads and shoulder pads and stuff. It still hurts.
You give yourself a stinger headbutting a guy.
Yeah, for sure. It's man, I probably should have done that. I'm too old for that.
Smart.
You know, football's a young man's game. Cam Scatterbill won't be doing that with Russell Wilson. They're not going to go headbutt each other.
Well, He'd have to reach down.
That's true. Yeah, he'd be trucking Russell Wilson, running him over.
Let's move on to the next one. That one's fun.
Who's the next one?
Got more complicated with J.K. Dobbins. I'm not even gonna list all the guys for the Broncos.
Yeah,
Wait,
there's a lot.
Where'd J.K. Dobbins go?
Denver.
Denver?
Yeah.
Wait, this happened a little bit ago, didn't it?
Yeah,
a couple
probably.
weeks
Yeah, a couple weeks.
I remember I was talking to Bradley about it.
Yeah. Man, that one's
Bradley was
tough.
happy. Bradley was happy. He's like,
That's a good spot for J.K. Dobbins.
Oh yeah.
It really
Oh,
is.
yeah.
As much as I like R.J. Harvey, it's a good landing spot for a guy of J.K. Dobbins' kind of profile. Where if he is the guy, that's a great offense to be the guy in. And even if it's a 50-50 split, I would not have called it a 50-50 split. You guys know how I feel about R.J. Harvey. So pre-J.K. Dobbins, like I anticipated it being an 80% snap share for him. J.K. Dobbins isn't a bad player. Like I've given a lot of flack to J.K. Dobbins over the years. 100%. I remember the last 2 years I've been saying, you just need to sell J.K. Dobbins, Jake. You need to give up on J.K. Dobbins. I was wrong. J.K. Dobbins came out and smacked me in the mouth first 2 weeks of the season last year and said, guess what?
Right.
I'm still him.
That's
Dude,
right,
he's big enough to run you over. He could juke you out at the same time.
100%.
And he's fast.
Mm-hmm.
All the issue he's ever had is staying on the field. He's
Exactly.
hurt all
And
the
he's
time.
literally never done it.
Yeah, true.
He's literally never done it. But when he's on the field, he's a good NFL player.
So if you do have J.K. Dobbins, then you got to make sure you get one of these other guys as a backup.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that-
I agree.
Potentially,
I don't know if that's
right?
the takeaway.
Man, it's tough. I don't think I'm looking at like Jaleel or Estime as like guys that I want to own. If I have them on my bench, like you guys know how I am, I'll roster any running back on a roster.
Yeah.
I do not care if you're good or bad, whatever. You have a chance. But obviously, I think it's Dobbins and Harvey are the two really fighting for the lion's share.
Yeah.
And as much as I like Harvey, I could see Sean Payton being I'll roll with the vet kind of guy. Like as good as Alvin Kamara was right away, he never took over for Mark Ingram because Mark Ingram was a good football player, and I could see that being the exact same thing. Like we've seen the Sean Payton system support 2 running backs. I don't know if this offense is the one to do it. They don't have Drew Brees at quarterback.
Yeah.
As much as I like Bo Nix, I don't know if he's running it to that level of efficiency. I would love to get J.K. Dobbins for cheap. It's kind of exactly how we talked about Hampton and Najee. I would like to buy the cheap guy in this situation.
Yeah.
And I have a couple R.J. Harvey shares, and I'm a little nervous about it because I drafted him where I did with the anticipation of that's a guy I can count on to be an RB2 this season.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can do that anymore. Like it's.
Do you think it's time I can let go of Tyler Bidet?
Oh, Bidet! Tyler Bidet!
But I mean, with a name like Bidet,
Yeah, he literally cleaned your ass.
that's what I'm saying, man. He gets in there, he's like, you know what, Sean?
He does the
Let me
dirty
clean
work.
this shit up. Put me in at the one.
does the dirty work.
Put me in at the one. Let me clean this shit up.
As much as I hate to agree with you, though, Nate, I think it's J.K. Dobbins. And I wouldn't be surprised me if he's like, it's like 80-20
Yeah.
kind of split. Or, he's the
Wow.
main guy.
To start the season, I do believe that'll be the
I
case.
agree.
Right?
I can agree with.
I really
with a
see it
lot of
shaking
that.
out that way where Harvey might take a little bit more getting in. But Sean Payton talked about in the draft that they realized there was no shot they could get Ashton Jeanty. Like he was hard pressed on getting Ashton Jeanty, and they talked with their, the GMs, the other scouts. And they're like, listen, we can't get up that high. Like he's going to be a very high draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
So he dove into the rest of the running backs, and he liked Harvey the most of any of them, is what he claims. Everybody who drafts a running back.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh probably says Caleb
he's a
Johnson was
player.
our number 2 running back after Ashton Jeanty, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably not true. But he hypes up that Joker role every year, and that's what he's been talking about with R.J. Harvey. Is I feel like we finally have somebody that can really take advantage of that Joker role. What that actually means remains to be seen. I think we saw a little bit of Marvin Mims in that last year. They tried Troy Franklin a little bit at the start of the season. That didn't work. And then, things started clicking with Mims, but more so just on the deep routes, really. And I think part of that was getting him involved more at the line of scrimmage and stuff. So you had to worry more about than just a go route.
Dude, Mims was either catching the ball 30, 40 yards downfield or at the line of scrimmage.
Yep, 100%. And I mean, I could see Harvey getting a lot of, dialed up, like, play calls like that, where he's, being flexed out in motion or something like that and running wheel routes down the field. Like, I really like him as a pass catcher. But he's also, the legs, man. It's the legs for me. J.K. Dobbins' legs don't look like that. I like Harvey long term, but he's the kind of guy where my expectation is, like we said, I think Dobbins starts with it. And if you're in week 4 or 5 and the guy with R.J. Harvey is like hurting at running back, and you can go give him David Montgomery or something, and maybe you have to throw on, a late second to get probably not 6, probably like 4 years younger, 3 years younger at running back. I'm okay with that. Like, I think Harvey down the stretch and definitely next season, I'd be counting on R.J. Harvey to be a very productive running back in that system.
I don't know. It's such a toss-up, man. I don't think I could say. I could almost see like a 30-30 split between the two of them, and then they really just use all their other backups or whatever. I think Sean Payton's weird with that. Also, I don't feel that confident that he's going to use J.K. Dobbins. I feel like he's kind of like an Urban Meyer where he says, these are my guys. Like, I like using my guys. I drafted that guy, so I'm going to use him. I feel like he is like that. I don't know. I guess, like literally the whole team is his except for Cortland Sutton on offense.
Right, basically.
So, I just feel like he is that type of dude. So, I feel like R.J. Harvey has a better chance of winning that battle, to me.
Yeah.
It obviously, I think J.K. Dobbins could easily see the starter role at the beginning of the season, and then and then R.J. Harvey works into it. But, yeah, like a 40 for J.K. and then 30 for R.J. I wouldn't worry too much about the actual, like, significant, like you said, 80-20. I can't see that.
You're not seeing that?
No, they're still going to use McLaughlin, right?
Yeah,
they're still going to use Estime a little bit.
I do think everybody's going to get touches.
I could even I don't think I should keep Bidet. I still think I could even see them using Bidet.
Yeah, he has just as good a shot as Estime and McLaughlin, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it'll just come down to they're probably not going to keep 5 running backs. No. So somebody's going, and we'll see who that is. But something I would like to mention there is the ADP for like redraft leagues. So most of the time, like we as a community, like a fantasy community, get it right. The guy who's drafted earlier is normally the better fantasy asset. Yeah. It's probably like about a 70% hit rate. So R.J. Harvey is like a late 6th round pick. Mm-hmm. J.K. Dobbins is like an early 12th round pick right now. So the fantasy community is heavily siding with the R.J. Harvey side right now.
When you say 70-30, but a lot of times it's pretty obvious.
Right.
So it's like Saquon Barkley was drafted before Kenneth Walker. Oh, we got that one right.
Right. Well, no, I mean like guys on the same team. Like when there is a position battle.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, Kenneth Walker doesn't play for them anymore. But let's say it was Genty or
Raheem Mostert or something.
Or Mostert. Like, a lot of them are obvious.
Right.
I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. No, I agree. You are correct.
Kenneth Walker didn't play for who?
Kenneth Gainwell is probably.
Oh, yes. Why do I always do that? I think there's something wrong.
There's too many Kenneths.
You're stupid. You're stupid.
Last one.
Okay.
It's a good one, too.
Your boy, Javonte Williams, versus whoever the hell else does the Cowboys have? Miles
Sanders
and
Blue.
Jaden Blue, yeah.
They got another guy, too. Mufasa.
We can call him Mufasa. I'm not sure who that is. Deuce Vaughn? Deuce Vaughn still out there?
Oh, I love that guy so much.
Cute little guy.
Cute little guy.
Did they make a guy miss?
Deuce Vaughn's the nepotism hire. He's a nepo baby.
Well, it was also his dad that drafted him.
The running back coach for Dallas.
Yeah.
I thought he was good at the preseason game that I watched. He was juking people out. But
Phil
that was
Muffa.
Maybe bounce.
Yeah.
Phil motherfucker. Muffa.
Still in motion, handed to Moffa. Bends it back to the left side, and here goes Phil Moffa. 40, 50. Can Moffa take it to the house? 20, 10, 5, touchdown.
Worried about him as far as
I wouldn't either.
things go, but at the same time, it's not like if he's really good that any of these guys are going to stop him from seeing the field.
Yeah.
My choice right this second is Javonte.
Yeah.
I think Javonte might have his juice back a little bit. You know, like I can see it happening. There's guys like him where it takes a little longer. And he talked about that last year where he never felt 100%. Still wasn't back from the knee injury. And I feel like we can look at J.K. Dobbins as, you know, kind of an example of a guy who went through some bad knee injuries, and it's at least showing like, hey, sports medicine's came a long way.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to readjust how we look at ACL tears, Achilles tears, all these things. Because guys come back at a faster rate than ever, and honestly, it's probably faster than they should. Like if Javonte would have sat out 12 weeks last year, he's probably 100% for the last 4 or 5 games, and we're like, holy crap, Javonte's back. But, you know, he's a little banged up, and now he said he feels 100% for the first time since the injury. And I just don't really – I don't see it with Miles Sanders personally. No, I think he's toast at this point. I think we've seen him be good for Philly.
Yeah.
When they had, you know, exactly. You know, DeAndre Swift looked awesome in Philly.
Yeah.
It does.
Gainwell looked good.
Kenneth Gainwell looked awesome in Philly. It does not matter who you put behind that offensive line in their scheme with Jalen Hurts and those weapons around them. They're gonna be good.
Yeah.
Even Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. I mean, even Saquon can rush for 2,000 yards. Like, come on. That's a guy who's never came even close to that.
the only problem I have with Javonte is he can't read. I feel like he can't read that quickly of the hole that he's hit. I feel like I love watching him because he just runs into people. And he's Scatterbo type guy.
Why was a lineman in his way? That's what I want to know.
It's like, bro, move that guy out of the way and you.
So I love Javonte for that. And you know what? I still can obviously see him winning the battle. Because I just don't feel like the guys underneath are going to be any good either. A 6th-round pick, an undrafted dude, Deuce Vaughn, who can't even see the field when his dad's a coach. Like that's bad. That is really bad. Yeah. But then Miles Sanders, who I'm pretty sure they just signed him to try to emulate what Philly does, like because they play him twice.
Right.
They say, well, he can run good in Philly, so maybe he can do that twice in a year. I don't fucking know.
For me, it really is just between Javonte and Jaden Blue.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give the benefit of the doubt to a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
The hit rate on a 6th-round pick for running back is like I can name Alfred Morris. It's like the first one off the top of my head. Maybe I think Pierce, Damian Pierce for Houston might have been a 5th or 6th-round pick. He was good for a year. You know, it's the long-term and short-term hit rate for these guys is very, very small. And if they were that worried about the running back room, they probably would have and should have spent a higher draft pick on a running back.
Crazy, with all the running backs that were there?
With all the running backs, right? Like, there's guys that got drafted into so much worse situations than Dallas, who are far better players than Jaden Blue, and could have made a big difference for Dallas, that are going to be 3rd stringers on other teams' depth charts.
Yep.
I don't get it, but
he's still mad about Tootin. Basil
Tootin's going to be number 1 on the Jacksonville depth chart.
We're probably going to get somebody. You know, it honestly could be somebody that's on somebody else's team right now. You mentioned 3rd stringers that are going to be better than the Cowboys, but like people are going to get cut.
Yeah,
they definitely are. But it's also confusing to me how with their running back room, they don't go talk to Nick Chubb and J.K. Dobbins when they're looking to sign places. Like, they signed for dirt cheap.
Yep.
Yeah, Najee Harris signed for dirt cheap.
Right.
Like, what, $1 million more than what they paid Javonte Williams? You're telling me that Najee Harris isn't worth $1 million more? He's never not ran for 1,000 yards. If you can just input a 1,000-yard rusher onto Dallas's roster, they're a much better football team. Yeah. Instead, we're talking about Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue.
Is it possible Javonte's better than what we think he is?
No.
I think so.
Dude, he's given us all the time that we needed to make our decision. No, he's not that good.
I think
I'm rooting for it, dude, but no, he's not that good.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, right? Like, it's all speculation at this point for saying, oh, he's healthy again. You know, maybe he's good. Yeah. The majority of the time, I think you're correct. Like, you are what you've shown me.
Yeah.
And what he's shown me ever since the injury has been bad. It's been bad.
I feel like it's since day one. I feel like he's ran the same way since day one.
He might have ran the same way, but
maybe a little lesser the last couple of years with the injury, but I feel like right off the gate, he's just straight through.
I think his strength coming out of college was as a pass catcher. In the first year and a half, I thought we really saw that. And I was really excited for him when they signed Russell Wilson in his second year. Like, I thought he was going to be the dude.
Russ loves doing that.
And we saw in his very first game with Russ, I think he had 14 targets, 15 targets, like 11 catches, 150 all-purpose yards. And I was like, okay, Javonte's going to be a problem for fantasy this season. And then he got hurt, and we never got to see any of that come to fruition.
Fruition, nice word.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. The vocab is on the up and up. Man. We're trying to get things going here.
We're serious about this shit.
Yeah, bro, this is what we do.
On Tuesdays.
Yeah, once a week. On Tuesdays for a couple hours.
Only on Tuesdays. Bidet. He's going to do this stuff.
Bidet, that's a good word.
Imagine him on the Cowboys.
Yeah, I would like to see a lot of
I'm serious. I don't understand what they were.
I wish I had that shirt.
They're going to be throwing. You have they're going to. Dak Prescott's going to be throwing